I knew I was the only one there. At least I believed I was.
I could feel a presence.
There's something in this house.
I was terrified.
What you are about to watch is based on true events. Some details have been altered to protect confidentiality.
My name is Bobby, and I work the night shift.
Bobby lands her ideal job at a doctor's home from the 1800s. Now, a museum.
My position at the museum was director, which enabled me to have full access to the premises. As director, I worked all hours of the day, but the evening shift that I worked would have been 4 p.m. through 2 a.m. I have a true love for the house. My family is very connected to it. For many years, my grandmother worked there. She was actually delivered by Christopher Best, and many of her children were delivered by his son, Duncan.
She works at night in an old house filled with generations of doctors' preserved memorabilia. Some carry the scent of the dead.
The house was always a little creepy, especially in the evenings. You have to remember this is a house built in the 1800s. The light switches are almost always on the other side of the room than you're walking into. So you're walking through the dark. When I started at the museum, there were no rumors of ghosts. There were no whispers of any sort of paranormal activity. It had just been a house that the doctor had lived in. I was a true non-believer, but I've had flashlights go off on me while I'm trying to walk through the room, and they just decide to shut off.
At night, Bobby's duties are to photograph and catalog the items. Only a few nights on the job, and the atmosphere in the parlor changes.
I couldn't really put my finger on what it was, almost like a breeze, like a wind, some sort of movement. It was if somebody had just walked into the room. It was like a wash over you, and you could just smell the perfume. I turned, and I just saw something very quick out of the corner of my eye move. It had a form. I couldn't tell you what it was. And by the time I tried to focus on it, it was gone. But I said to myself, I was not gonna let a little apparition scare me away.
Undaunted, Bobby continues that night with her coworker to set up for an upcoming public talk.
This talk got some buzz. Hope we have enough chairs.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great one.
I had heard footsteps above me, and they kept growing louder and louder.
No one's here, right?
No one.
I'll check.
Be careful.
The footsteps were clear as day. There's absolutely no denying it sounded like somebody was just walking forcefully through the house, as if in a march almost. The staircase in the front parlor had been roped off. It sounded just like somebody upstairs.
Bobby follows the footsteps to a part of the museum close to the public.
The footsteps just stopped when I opened the door. I felt a heaviness in that area of the house. It was drawing me around the room. And that feeling of somebody watching you.
When Bobby opens the trunk, she unleashes a darker energy.
Inside was some articles of clothing. In particular was a small suit. Would have been what you'd wear on a Sunday. That was when I really noticed just the heaviness in the room, just the sorrow in the room. I feel maybe like I've crossed a line with that. I can't even explain it any other way. I immediately let go of the suit.
Stop. But it's too late.
It's as if in that corner, in my mind's eye, I can see a little boy kind of squatting in that corner.
Leave my stuff alone! Alone! Alone!
Though Bobby loves her job as a museum director, her skepticism about it being haunted is being challenged by coming face to face with a terrifying spirit.
When I saw that apparition, I had kind of focused on it. It was immediately gone.
Bobby knows without a doubt who is haunting her and that room.
It was the little boy's room. James was the first son of the doctor. He had passed away in the house. It took 2 weeks for that little boy to die. Tragically, very sad situation.
James died as a young child of undulated fever, a disease causing a painful death.
I don't know if that was the suit that he was laid out in. It very easily could have been what he was wearing for that.
Spirits are very possessive, and if we handle or disturb what was once theirs, it can generate a lot of activity. These are very clear examples of spirits saying, "Don't touch my stuff." There are many reports of paranormal activity being generated when the belongings of a former owner were disturbed or handled.
I want to be respectful, and the suit is still on the bed to this day. It took a moment for me to just kind of reset myself and carried on with my job. Just kind of put it in the back of my head and pretended it didn't happen and continued that evening.
Bobby?
Yeah.
You okay? What was up there?
Oh, it was no one. I must have been hearing things.
I'm a deny kind of person, but that was the first instance that I had to deny.
We have a lot to do to get ready for tomorrow.
Yeah. I'll get to it. Continue over here.
I'm just gonna go get some stuff from the shed out back.
Okay.
Bobby distracts herself by preparing for the lecture.
I love my job. It was more of a suck it up, you know? It's a great place.
She prepares to catalog the perfume bottles.
You opened it up after what happened?
The perfume was a little bit too tempting not to open. A kid, you have your grandma's perfume in front of you, and you just, you know, you want to smell. So I justified opening the perfume with that. It was such a light and pretty scent. I believe it was violet. And I immediately noticed it as the perfume that we had smelled earlier that evening. And then the smell was everywhere.
Do you smell that?
Yeah, perfume. Yours?
No.
It was like somebody had squirted perfume and walked into it. And then, gosh, we had heard the faint sound of a piano playing.
This is too weird.
I'm right behind you. I'm gonna lock up.
But before Bobby can make it out,
Her perfume had kind of come into the room noticeably. It was like a wash over you. There was a presence. I could feel a presence.
and suddenly, the Victrola comes to life.
Leave my stuff alone.
It had to have been levitated off the ground probably 6 inches while playing. And just dropped. It was like a person picked it up and just dropped it. It was so real.
Leave our things alone.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
I think Bobby's experiencing a mixture of both residual hauntings, trace memories, trace elements of things that happened a long time ago, but also an intelligent haunting. It can be common for a house to be haunted by an entire family, an entire generation, even though they may have died at different times. It's simply their home, the only home they've ever known. They want to be there, and they plan to remain there.
I do believe it's the family. I don't believe they mean people any harm. I think that maybe I just happen to be connected in a way that they're familiar with. Maybe they were trying to make contact in a friendly way, but it's just scary as hell.
After seeing the apparition clearly, Bobby believes she knows who it is.
There was a very clear outline of a shadowy figure. I believe this to be Emma. Emma is Christopher Best's daughter, and she lived in the home until she was in her 80s. She was actually the last person to live in that house. Emma taught piano lessons out of the house. 2 of my aunts took piano lessons from Emma. The eerie part was, when I looked at that photo, I realized that that was where I had been standing when the Victrola decided to jump off the floor or fall to the floor, whatever it did. I'm surprised I lasted as long as I did.
My name is Jim, and I work the night shift.
45-year-old Jim starts his first night shift as a care support worker at a residence for intellectually disabled adults.
When I first got the job, I was excited because we did need extra money to help, supplement our incomes. My wife worked full-time, I worked full-time, but we needed extra income.
Around the corner here is the basement.
The day staff have gone, and Jim finds his duties are shared with just one co-worker.
Who's that?
Oh, that's one of the former owners of the place. This is where the residents sleep.
Together, they'll work long into the night, standing watch over the house and its sleeping residents.
Why are all the doors open?
The residents feel safer with them open.
The gentlemen that live there, they like their doors open. They don't like to have their doors closed. It reassures them a little bit that they know somebody's there to help them and protect them.
After the residence floor, the next stop is the basement.
She shared that the basement, where the laundry room is located, kind of freaked her out. I told her that I would go down and bring up the first load of laundry.
But his co-worker won't go.
When you go down the stairs in the basement, they creak a little bit. It's an old home. It was built about 1843.
But the feeling Jim gets being down there can't be explained.
Just get this weird feeling. I had a feeling of unease. You can feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and it just kind of freaks you out a little bit. The water pitcher flew right off the shelf. Dropped the laundry basket, and I stared at it, which felt like forever. I would love to have shared with my coworker, but she would have been incredibly terrified, and I know she would have left.
Jim keeps silent and gets back to watching the residents, settling in for a long night ahead.
I shut the lights off in the hallway, and I had 2 little night lights that were plugged in, so it just had very dim lighting, so not to wake the gentlemen up that lived there. As I was sitting there, I kept thinking I could see something out of the corner of my eye. And I had this feeling like a little bit of a cold sensation. I looked again when I saw it, and I saw this black. It was out, I'd liken it to like a cloud, which was outside the bedroom at the end of the hallway. And then, in a blink of an eye, it was gone. It just it didn't go through anything. It just disappeared right where it was. I couldn't believe it. You see stuff like that on TV, and you think, oh, that's not a big deal until you actually witness this for yourself. You have all these thoughts going through your mind of like disbelief. Oh, and you're just trying to figure out what is it and where did it go? And then I was thinking, I gotta go down to the bedroom. I gotta just check on that guy. I peeked in. He was sleeping soundly.
What's wrong?
Something just grabbed my hair.
My shift partner, she said it felt like somebody had pulled the back of her hair.
All right. I'll double check, okay?
Her eyes were huge, and her hands were shaking. I knew right away things were happening in that house, but I wasn't really sure why they were happening.
Into the basement again to make sure there is no intruder.
My senses, I'm very heightened to everything that's around. Going down, and you can hear your feet hitting the steps, each one. You can count the squeaks of them going down. I get to the bottom.
No one is there, but he double checks the locks anyway.
So when I was down in the basement and I was bringing a load of laundry to fold, I had this sense that I was being watched.
Did you see anything?
No, there's nothing down there.
This is cold comfort for Jim's distraught coworker. He stays by her side, but it's not long before new disturbances come from above.
There's something in this house.
Jim's first night working at a resident home begins with strange occurrences and a spooked coworker.
Something just grabbed my hair.
And now, noises from what should be an empty attic.
Did you hear that? Do you see what I'm talking about?
I heard noises in the attic, which is just right above the second floor where I'm sitting. It was like a rhythmic pattern of like when a child is skipping. And there's a door that leads up to the third floor. As soon as I opened the door, the noise stopped.
Hello? Hello? There's nothing there.
You didn't see anything?
I'm just kind of thinking to myself, you know, old homes have a lot of personality. They make strange noises sometimes. It could be the heating.
But Jim's coworker isn't buying it.
I have to go. I'm done. I'm sorry.
She quits, leaving Jim to complete his night shift watching over the house. Alone.
You didn't go?
No. I definitely couldn't leave. I'm responsible for them being safe and taken care of. And I wasn't willing to not do that.
Jim is left with the laundry to finish, so he heads back down to the basement.
I open the basement door. I look down the stairs, and it's almost like you're looking like at the longest walk of your life. So as I'm getting the laundry out, and I just had this constant feeling of being watched, there is a clothesline rope that goes from one part of the foundation to the other, and then they had a tarp over that for a little bit of a breakup in the basement. For some reason, I decided I was going to walk over to the tarp and look behind it.
And Jim is face to face with a male entity. He makes a run for it. After the encounter, Jim shakily returns to his second-floor watch.
I was terrified. I felt like I was having like anxiety. And I just started like getting a little bit of the sweats too.
But Jim has no chance to calm his anxieties. It's now upstairs with him.
There was a human-like mass that was inside the doorway of the room. My legs started to shake, almost like if you feel like hypothermic, almost. And the figure just kind of like floated straight back into the room until I couldn't see it anymore. I just couldn't believe any of this was really honestly happening. I had to muster up enough courage to go down and look inside the room for the safety and well-being of them guys. I just took one step at a time. My heart was racing so fast.
Nothing prepares Jim for what awaits behind the door.
No!
It's hard to really explain if you've never seen anything like that before.
Just stay back! Stay back!
I didn't know what I was seeing.
Get away from me!
And then the entity vanishes.
Like my heart rate was just pounding.
So you couldn't leave?
I know I couldn't leave because I'm responsible for these guys while I'm on shift.
But it's not gone. It's changed form.
I'd almost hear like a guttural sound that it was making, as though it might have been like gasping for a breath over and over until it disappeared. I have no idea what it could have done if I would have gotten any closer to it.
Jim assumes that the dark, shadowy mist that he encounters in the doorway to the residence room is evil, that it means him harm. That may be the case. There are some who believe that dark in appearance means dark in nature. But other cultures believe that dark and shadowy figures are the opposite, that they are good, that these are the spirits of our loved ones who are backlit by the light of the afterlife. And so all we can see is their shadow. For me, at least, the jury is still out.
As I'm sitting here discussing it, my hands are clammy feeling. And they have been through the whole process of just reliving this.
I know, I can see you grasping your hand.
Yeah, I was scared. So I sat in a chair for a while, just trying to wrap my head around things that were going on. But I knew inevitably I'm responsible for the safety and the well-being of these guys that I'm working for. I wasn't leaving until my shift was over. 2 hours goes incredibly slow. It goes very slow when you want to go home in a hurry.
Dawn finally arrives, and with it, the end of Jim's long, terrifying night.
As soon as my shift ended and I got in my car, I was just trying to process everything that I went through. I was worried that the spirit would follow me home.
After his paranormal encounter on the night shift, Jim learns that the entity may have been the former owner of the home.
Heard stories in the past that there was one of the owners, he had passed away in that home of pneumonia.
When we look at the context behind this haunting and the history of location, it may be that all Jim was hearing was the after echo of the old man trying to breathe.
This event has most definitely changed my belief in paranormal. I believe that when you leave this world, you are part of a universe, per se, and that you are potentially always around. I have no idea what was going on in that house. And I wasn't willing to stay and find out for another shift. Didn't want to find out what it wanted to show. That was the worst experience that I ever had.
My name is RW, and I work the night shift.
22-year-old R.W. returns to his old high school to work as a custodian on the graveyard shift.
I really needed this job because my wife left me and I became a single dad.
R.W.'s former high school is a lot quieter on the night shift.
Did you hear any strange things about this school?
You know, as a student going there, when different students would talk about odd things that happened. However, though, we dismissed that because I was a complete skeptic.
But the day custodian is a believer and warns R.W. to be careful in the auditorium.
All right, are you messing with me?
I'm not messing with you. You okay?
I'm fine.
R.W. moves on and begins his shift.
At the high school, I was put on task by the other custodians to clean the auditorium. Areas that the other custodians didn't want to do, and I later found out why.
A big task ahead of him. He gets to work.
There had been a drama workshop going on during the day, and so they wanted to make sure that everything was prepped up, ready for the next day.
Not long on the job, it begins to get strange.
I began to hear footsteps that were going back and forth across the stage. I knew I was the only one there. At least I believed I was. Still being a skeptic, it didn't faze me really. Didn't pay attention to it. I dismissed it when I heard footsteps going by. I was told to prop one of the doors open so that it helps to dry the floor. As I was mopping, that's when the door slammed shut. It was propped open good, but it slammed with a force. There was no way for that door to slam on its own. It scared the crap out of me. There was a thick prop that I had up in front of it. It wasn't even laying in close vicinity of where it had been. Someone had to have moved that and slammed the door shut.
He has no explanation for what is happening.
I kept trying to dismiss it.
Hello? Is there someone back there?
The curtain was moving as if someone was standing behind it. Like you could see the outline of them moving past the curtain from the other side.
Hello?
I just thought someone was behind the curtain. Honestly, I did. So I walked towards the curtain. At this point, realizing that it couldn't be a janitor, I'm getting really annoyed and scared. I'm not gonna lie. When I went up the stage left entrance, there was a stairwell there.
Hello?
I could see there was no one there behind the curtain. Maybe it was just a wind draft. You know, maybe my imagination was playing tricks on me.
Get it together, man.
That's when I heard the whistling. The air, it just suddenly changed.
Who's there?
It became static filled, like something was in there with me. I felt like something was watching me, watching my every move. At this point, I had become a believer. That something was in there that I couldn't see.
RW being under a lot of stress is opening him up to a lot of factors, and those factors are supernatural.
The disturbances seem to be coming from behind the curtain.
Okay, pal. You asked for it.
Someone was behind me again, and I couldn't see them.
Oh, come on.
RW.
I hear someone call my name from center stage. I was terrified.
The whispering of RW's name is an immediate way of saying, I'm here, don't doubt that I'm here. But I'm here, and I want you to address me. It's time now for us to communicate with each other.
Who the hell are you?
RW tries to be brave.
If you're messing with me, I've had enough. Man, it ain't funny anymore.
That's when it hit the fan.
What should have been a quiet first night shift for RW as a custodian has spiraled into a terrifying evening.
Something was in there with me. That's when I heard the whistling.
The presence that RW feels has now become aggressive.
That's when it hit the fan. The props fell. I felt like it wanted to kill me.
When the prop almost kills him, he reconsiders rumors about the haunted auditorium.
This Mr. Rainier was a teacher who had been killed back in the 70s. And a prop had fallen on him when he was there working late one night, and no one was there to help him, and he died.
It's a violent movement of an object to get something to drop to show RW, this is how I died. I also think the drama teacher is maybe being a little forceful with this message too, which is driving RW's fear. It's kind of spiraling a little out of control.
I heard him call my name again. It gives you the creeps.
The entity's targeting of RW intensifies, trapping him now in total darkness.
Not only did the center light go out, but all the lights in the auditorium went out. Now I'm in the darkness. Didn't have a flashlight, but I did have a lighter. The problem with the lighter was every time I would walk, the flame would flicker and it would go out. So I would have to re-flick it again. It was as though someone was in there with me. I needed to find the light switch.
Just as RW reaches for the light,
suddenly, the center stage light appears on. And that's when I see someone standing in the direct beam of that light on center stage. I was scared. Now I've got someone I can see. I saw him standing there on the stage. In my mind, I think he was still being a drama teacher, still doing his job, trying to teach you.
Don't hurt me.
I could feel every sense in my body, every nerve ending.
What do you want?
RW.
Get out of here! Leave me alone!
I did an about face, and I ran out of that auditorium as fast as I could. I was gone.
RW bails on his first and only night shift at this haunted school.
I told him that I couldn't come back they understood why.
Why do you think the spirit of Mr. Rainier targeted you?
I started replaying it in my mind, thinking of all the incidences that had happened. And if he had really wanted to kill me, he could have. I think he was more or less trying to show me how he died and the fear that he felt being trapped there an entire night with no help. This was my old high school. Plus, I had been a student who had been in drama.
And what happened to your skepticism?
After that, I became a believer. And I believe in the paranormal. There is something out there that we can't explain.